We have always loved the knight, the shining armor, the war horse, the lowered visor, and the raised sword. In museums, we stop in front of them, those hollow suits of steel, and we feel something. Awe, admiration, the comfortable romance of a world made simple by honor and glory. History has polished that image carefully. Films have preserved it. Novels have protected it. But there is a question, too embarrassing for textbooks, too human for the myth, that no one ever asks about the knight sealed inside 60 pounds of steel. What happened when his body made a demand the armor could not accommodate? Low and deliberate. To understand the answer, you must first understand what it meant to wear that armor. It was not something a knight stepped into alone. It was a ritual, a process that could take a full hour, requiring a squire's steady hands. First, linen undergarments against the skin, then wool, then the gambeson, a thick, padded jacket designed to absorb the shock of blows, then chainmail, then the outer plates, fitted and strapped and tied in sequence. Each piece locked into place, the visor lowered, the gauntlets secured. And in that moment, the knight became something extraordinary. A weapon on horseback, a moving fortress, protected from almost everything the battlefield could throw at him. Protected from everything except his own body. In peacetime, in training, in ceremony, in travel, the solution was discipline. You planned ahead. You ate carefully the night before. You relieved yourself completely before the first piece of armor went on. If the need arose during the day, it was possible, in theory, to manage. Armorers had designed certain areas of the suit with flexibility: the inner thigh, the groin region. With time, with a squire's help, with patience, a knight could find a way. Uncomfortable, deeply undignified for a man of supposed glory, but possible. In peacetime, at least, there was time. Part 3. When the battle began. The tone drops, darker, no softening. War was different. An army before a battle does not move freely. It stands, it waits. It holds position under the weight of armor and fear and hours of nothing, while the mind does what the mind always does before violence. It panics. And the human body, under extreme and prolonged stress, responds to panic in ways that no amount of training can fully override. The bladder weakens. The bowels respond. There was no stepping out of line, no removing armor in the minutes before a charge, no option of any kind. So they didn't try. They simply let it happen, and they fought. Part 4. Agincourt, 1415. There is no better example of this reality than the Battle of Agincourt. October 1415. The English army, exhausted, outnumbered, and already weeks into a punishing march, arrived at that field carrying something beyond fatigue. Dysentery had torn through the ranks. Uncontrollable, relentless. A disease that strips a man of every last dignity before it finishes with him. Some common soldiers, those without armor, had cut their clothing away to cope. The knights had no such option. they fought in plate armor, while their bodies were already failing them from the inside. The history books remember Agincourt as a triumph of English courage, and it was. But the field that day, beneath all the glory and the arrows and the legend, smelled of something the paintings never capture. What happened to the body inside? This was not merely an indignity. It was a medical crisis waiting to develop. Urine trapped against skin, hour after hour, day after day on long campaigns, created raw, open wounds. Constant friction from metal edges, fabric soaked and never fully dried. Infections formed in those wounds, abscesses, skin that began to break down from the inside of the armor outward. And in a world with no antibiotics, no way to treat infection beyond prayer and crude instruments, a knight could survive every blade on the battlefield, walk away from the fighting without a single visible wound, and be dead within 3 weeks, killed not by an enemy, by his own armor. After every battle, when the fighting was finally done, the squires came. They removed the armor piece by piece, cleaned it immediately with sand and vinegar and oil, scrubbing away the rust that had already begun forming from the inside. The undergarments, soaked through beyond washing, were often simply discarded. On long campaigns, some knights stayed sealed in their armor for days. When the undergarments were finally peeled away, they took skin with them. The armor, that magnificent symbol of invincibility, had become a prison. We look at those empty suits of steel in museums, and we see power, we see glory, we see the romance of a world that never quite existed. But the man who wore that armor, the man sealed inside it for hours, for days, for the full length of a campaign, was not a symbol. He was a human body in an impossible situation, enduring things history decided were too unglamorous to remember, surviving not because the armor made him invincible, but because he had no other choice.